On this beautiful wildcard Sunday, we are seeing also the Liberal leadership race finally shaping up. People are dropping left, right, and center, and we're going to chat about what is happening with this Liberal Party. First off, we had earlier in the week, Minister LeBlanc saying, I'm dropping out. I have more important responsibilities to look after as Trump is coming in. We need to look after what is happening with these tariffs. So he dropped out. Melanie Joly, citing very similar reasonings as LeBlanc, saying big things are coming. I'm the foreign minister. I'm not running for leadership. Then he had last night, Anita Anand saying, I'm not running. I got things to focus on, and I'm actually not even running for re-election. And then we have Stephen McKinnon, as recently as today, saying, I'm dropping out. I'm not going after this. And then we have, Christy Clark, who, shot herself in the foot so bad that she doesn't even have the option to run away. That was hilarious yesterday, wasn't it? Outright lying to the press. And CBC doing journalism brings it all to the forefront. Like, yeah, she outright lied to us about being a party member. She signed up as a conservative member, claimed that she didn't, and then went back on it. Absolute lie. Such a bad lie that she realized how much she got absolutely roasted in the media. She doubled down initially. Then she decided to lay off and actually try to be semi-honest, saying, well, I misspoke. Ish happens. Lessons learned. I have always been clear that I supported Jean Charest to stop Pierre Poilievre, not backing away from that. He is the most divisive politician we've seen in years, and I felt it was my duty as a Canadian to stop him in his tracks. I'm thinking carefully about running because he still needs to be stopped, but if we want to do that, our party has to accept change. Sticking with the status quo is a losing strategy. Still think it was a bad idea for independent right-leaning people to join the Liberal Party to vote in their leadership election. She openly said, well, I was a Liberal. I ran as a Liberal in BC, and I joined the Conservative Party to stop Pierre Poilievre. Happens all the time, but as soon as normal people do it, all of a sudden it's all bad. Interesting how that works. So anyways, Christy Clark is still going to run, but she's going to be running on one leg, essentially, at this point. We have Francois-Philippe Champagne is being pressured to drop out and throw support behind Freeland. He's going to be making his decision within the next day or two. But from what we're hearing, he is being pressured to throw support behind Freeland and get off the tracks. Which leaves us with these two lovebirds. Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, and, Aria. It was very interesting to see everyone kind of putting their names forward to run for leadership. Then all of a sudden, day after day after day, they're dropping like flies. Some people are suggesting that the Liberals don't know what they're doing. They seem like they are partying chaos and they don't have any sort of vision, and that people who put their names forward initially are starting to see that and they're pulling their names back now. And I would say not so fast. I think something a little bit more focused and planned is happening at the top at the moment. We're seeing a very similar strategy play out that we saw the Democrats do in the States in 2020. When Joe Biden didn't stand a chance to win amongst all their Democrat nominees, all of a sudden, about halfway through, Bernie Sanders was beating him. People were dropping out like flies to the point where the only person that was left was Joe Biden. And I think we're seeing something similar play out here in the Liberal Party. We are likely seeing backroom deals, backroom conversations happening with all of these Liberal MPs saying, we're going with Carney. We want Carney. Freeland, they can't really control right now. But they're trying to limit the amount of candidates in so that there's no split voting. And they want to get focused and want to make sure their preferred candidates are the only ones who are running. And why are they having backroom conversations? What is happening? Well, a couple things are going on. So we have the NISCOP findings, who pointed out that the Liberal leadership race was very vulnerable to foreign interference. And then we'll also be getting the Hogue findings here at the end of the month of what's been happening with the public inquiry of foreign interference. So that will likely throw a huge wrench in the process. So if things are looking bad and the Liberals haven't really clamped down on things, it'll look bad and throw the leadership race even further chaos than it already is. Large amounts of Liberal MPs have been calling for stricter rules. There has been pressure within the party to make sure that happens. Calls to register your pets to vote in the Liberal leadership race have made MSM headlines, meaning the party has little control over their preferred candidate if an election were to ensue in their party. The more candidates you have, the higher likelihood of splitting votes and someone getting in that they didn't necessarily want. Secondly, a big rule change that got the focus as well was increasing the entry fee from $75,000 to $350,000, meaning you have to get a lot more donors behind you. You have to come up with a lot more money just to be able to run in this leadership race. So that forced a lot of people out as well. So I think in addition to backroom conversations, that increase of the entry fee caused a lot of people to have to step out as well. You could likely, depending on how successful you were in politics, you could come up with that money on your own. But in a lot of cases, people are running funding campaigns to be able to make up money to just to be able to run, to submit to the party. Then you have to spend money to actually start running your own campaign. So there's a lot of money up front meaning people who have been in politics and been enriched and enriched themselves are really the only ones who are going to be favored with these new rules. As much as we rip on the Liberal Party for being dumb and doing stupid things, the reality is they're smart enough to realize that, yes, we're trying to play politics right now and say, oh, our leadership races are open to anybody and everybody. That's why they're so open. But they realize the problems. They've been reading the documents. They know it's bad. Internally, they know it's bad. And I know for a fact that if they have 7 candidates running, they know they're opening themselves up to some serious issues. There would be a strong possibility that someone like Chandra Arya could get in. A guy who refuses to speak French, championing Quebec independence, came to Canada at 43 years old, somehow got into politics, now has a shot at being a prime minister. He could legitimately win if he mobilized enough people behind him and his community, as I talked about last video. It could happen. So the Liberal Party is shoring up their bases and making sure they are controlling the outcome that they want. Thus, why we're really only going to see Carney and Freeland. Arya has come out saying, well, that $350,000 is a lot of money, man. Clearly, they only want the billionaires off Bay Street to run for this. So with that increased money, if Arya is coming out and saying that, I imagine he's going to be dropping out fairly soon. I'd hazard guess there's some serious backroom conversations happening, and they've talked to people, making sure they drop out, make sure there's no vote splitting, and that their focus is on their preferred candidates. But we talked about it on this show, where me and Reg discussed, does it make sense for Carney to step in right now? People are having that question. Like, who wants to take over this party at the moment when they are likely going to lose the next election and then fall apart after that? Carney wouldn't want to be a part of that. And I agree. And Carney said he didn't want to be a part of it if he was coming in as a finance minister. But now he has a clear shot of becoming a leader of the party. And again, people still have that argument. Why would you want that? Why would you want to come in and try to take over this party that is an absolute shambles? Why would Carney set himself up for that? And I think in some ways, his hand has been forced. Because if Carney's out, the big favorite to win the Liberal leadership will be Freeland. And if it's Freeland, who they view as a strong leader within the party, I have a hard time believing that they'll have another Liberal leadership race after this next election. If they had another seat warmer like a Paul Martin like they did back in the day, I could definitely see them doing it. But if they had Freeland in, they lost knowing the reason why they lost, I would imagine they'd take another shot at a full election campaign with Freeland the next time around. I think she'd stay leader. And I think Carney knows this. And I think that's why he's putting his name in the hat now. If it's either Carney or Freeland, I don't imagine them going back to another Liberal leadership race after this is said and done. If it was somebody else outside of those two, they would go back to another leadership race. But the party right now views Carney and Freeland as the two strongest leaders in this party at the moment. As I said, Carney knows this. So he's like, shoot, his hands are tied. And so that's why he's joining now. And it'll be a fun face-off. Carney and Freeland. And as Poilievre eloquently said, they are all Justin Trudeau anyways. Supportive of carbon taxes, supportive of inflationary spending, supportive of ruining the country. Even though Carney is on record moving his businesses and business outside of the country because Canada is not suitable for business these days, but he still encourages and supports the policies that have created this environment. One piece of news I thought was intriguing as well. George Young, another former national director of the Liberal Party and veteran chief of staff to ministers in both the Trudeau and the Jean Chrétien governments, said he expects the new leader will call an election soon after the March 9th leadership vote to avoid being defeated in Parliament. And to that, we'll see. I'd be interested if that does happen. That is really interesting to me. That to me signals a couple things. One is I only see that happening if the Liberals all of a sudden start operating in good faith, which they have not up to this point. I could see them continue dragging it out as long as they can. But if they operate in good faith, I could definitely see this happening. Or two, whoever the new leader is doesn't want any of the stank of this current party being on them. They know they're going into a losing election and they don't want their name to be associated with this colossal failure that has been this government. I can see them get into election right away, saying it wasn't their election to lose. They were just taking over a broken party so that they can stay on as leader. They don't go back to a leadership race. And they try to strengthen this party over the next 4 years and then try to live to fight another day. But that is what is going on. If you're wondering what's been happening, why people are dropping out like flies, backroom conversations are happening. Liberals are trying to shore up their bases and make sure they control the result of this as much as they can. Have yourselves a great Sunday. Enjoy your NFL football. I'm out.